Hi, my name is Zoe Dodson and I'm going to give a presentation about my EPQ which answers the question, should racehorses in the UK be kept in stables? So, why I chose this project? First of all, my personal experience with horse care. I've been horse riding for almost 4 years and it's really easy to see how many differences there are with how people keep their horses. Everyone does something a bit differently. So I was really interested in what was the best way to do things. As well as this, after Wyke, I want to go on and study veterinary medicine. So this project really gave me an insight into the decisions and compromises that must be made to prioritise an animal's welfare. And finally, my A-levels. I study biology, chemistry and maths, and these have really helped me in understanding the project, understanding the resources I've read, and really just having knowledge that supports what I'm learning about. Now, the project itself. I split my project up into 4 sections. The first section is looking at stable design. So this is essentially how much space does a horse have and how much can it interact with other horses, because this has a massive impact on all the other aspects of its welfare. These 3 aspects I looked at were the main ones: the development of weird behaviours in a horse, what a horse eats, and then the actual physical health of a horse and how that differs between different housing systems. So, everyone here who's done an EPQ knows that planning is essential. Without it, you're lost. You don't know what you're doing, when you need to do it by. It's crazy. So at the very start of my project, I evaluated different planning sources and decided to use a Gantt chart. I found this really helpful. I thought it gave me a lot of flexibility. I could change it from week to week if I was more busy or if I had more time. And I found this really useful. I also, after recommendation from a previous EPQ student, used to-do lists, which I updated week to week. However, I actually gave up on these after about two months because I just thought they weren't helping. I thought they were useless. I was spending too much time doing it and it wasn't giving me any sort of structure. So I actually gave up on that. So then I started my research. I actually decided against primary research. I don't know about any of you, but I've never met a horse that speaks English, so I can't ask them what they think of how they're living. And every other form that I could find just wasn't useful to my own project. I could have done a questionnaire, but that's asking people their opinions or their knowledge. And that wasn't useful to my science fact-based project. And an interview with an expert could have been useful, but all the information they could have given me, I'd already found from one of these secondary sources. So I just thought it would be too much time and would not be worth doing for my personal project. I instead have collected a bibliography of about 50 sources from a large variety of different types of media. What I actually found, so the design of stables is small. A horse, if you base it on just the regulations that are in place for the minimum sizes available, a horse in a field has 900 times more space than a horse in pasture, and a horse in a stable, I mean. This isn't good for a horse as they naturally move around. They can cover about 20 miles a day, 40 miles a day in the wild. So living in such a small space with such limited movement isn't at all a benefit to them. However, the stakeholders in the industry, from some of the studies I've read, believe that stables are great, they're necessary, and only horses with the best life actually are allowed out to free exercise. As well as this, horses in stables don't get a lot of interaction with each other, sometimes only getting visual access to each other once or twice a day. I then looked at abnormal behaviours in horses. So these are called stereotypies. A stereotypy is defined as the frequent repetition by an animal of an action that serves no purpose. And these are really prevalent in racehorses specifically, with about 5 to 10% developing them. These are things such as chewing wood, walking in circles in their stables, swaying from side to side, and they're a major indicator of psychological damage. But as well as the damage to their mental health, performing these actions can damage their physical health. For example, swaying can cause uneven muscle developments in their shoulders, which can then go on to affect their performance on the racetrack. Now, these behaviours are caused by stress and boredom in stables, and horses in the wild have actually never been recorded to perform these behaviours. So they are really a detriment and are definitely caused by factors involved in stabling a horse. Despite this, 65% of racehorse yards actually make no change to how they keep their horses after these behaviours develop, which suggests that stakeholders really don't care about them, even though it's indicating that the horse is really psychologically damaged. My next section was the diet of a horse. So, wild horses spend 16 to 18 hours a day grazing, and with domestic horses, we really want to mimic that natural behaviours. So we want them to have forage, that's hay and grasses. However, a horse in a stable eats a lot of concentrates. This is grain, beets and oats. These foods, as well as being consumed quickly, contain starch. Starch develops damaging microbes in the gut of a horse, and this can really be a detriment to their digestive health. Instead, forages, which are grasses, so if you tend out a horse to pasture or if you provided large amounts of hay, are more beneficial for their natural behaviours as well as their digestive health. The reason racehorse stables do provide concentrates in larger volumes is because they give a lot of energy. Racehorses that are going to run fast, you want them to perform their best. They need lots of energy, so instead of prioritising the digestive health of a horse, often they're instead given these concentrates to make them perform better on the racetrack. My final section was physical health. So as you can see in this picture, this is ragwort. This is a poisonous plant to horses and it's deadly. It causes liver damage and they literally die after not eating much of it. And if you have horses, you've probably heard of it. And this is found in fields. It grows as alongside grass. It's a weed. So if you put a horse in a stable, that risk is completely eliminated. There's no poisonous plants because you put everything in that stable. And then I looked at 3 case studies in detail. So stomach ulcers in horses. These are helped by keeping them in stables, especially for horses that do so much intense exercise. The rest and the control environment really help prevent these stomach ulcers from developing. I looked at laminitis. This is a hoof condition that's caused by too much sugar. And this is also helped by stables because if a horse is in a stable, you can control exactly what it's eating and it's not eating lush grass that's full of sugars that damage their hooves. I finally looked at colic. This is intestinal pain, and this can be caused by certain parasites that you find in a pasture. However, most commonly, it's not caused by that. And there have been lots of correlations found between more time at pasture and lower risks of colic. So pasture is actually more beneficial for colic. However, stables are better for preventing plant poisoning, equine gastric ulcer syndrome and laminitis. So what did I conclude? I concluded that horses should be kept in stables for at least some of their day. This is to protect their physical health from some of these diseases that I've spoken about and to improve their performances because these horses are a functioning animal. They do have a job and that is necessary to consider. However, these stables should not be used continuously or exclusively. They should only be used in combination with free exercise, so a pasture, a field, a wood-chipped paddock, a sand paddock, something where they can move without control by a human. As well as this, the stables they are kept in should be modified. They should be allowed to interact with other horses, groom, smell, see each other, and they should be provided mental enrichments, that's toys, that's forage for them, so they're not getting bored, they're not getting stressed, that they have something to do with their time. So, throughout my EPQ, well, it's been a journey, but I have gained a lot of skills. One of these is time management. I'm a very busy person, trying to balance an EPQ with 3 A-levels, a part-time job, work experience, voluntary work, and trying to spend time with my friends and my family. It's a lot. So making sure I don't waste my time, I organise myself properly, and I use my time efficiently was something that I did struggle with at the beginning, but I've really developed, and it's not only helped me in my EPQ, but in other aspects of my life. And I do think I have become a more organised person. Despite this, there have been some problems. My major problem was finding resources. We actually did a trip to Hull University to find and access their library. However, when I downloaded them to my USB, they didn't save. So I came back to college, plugged it into the computer, and they were gone. So I lost about 20, 30 sources, and I really struggled to find better ones and new ones. However, I did find some websites that did work for me, where you didn't have to pay a subscription, you didn't have to pay like large amounts of money. And these are some of these on the board. JSTOR was really good, and a library. So I actually have a library where I work, and that was really useful for me, as I could access those books easily and quickly when I needed them. Overall, I actually really enjoyed my EPQ. I thought it was a journey and there was some struggles, but overall I have become a more organised, a better person, and I can manage my time really well, and I have much more motivation and work ethic after it. I would advise to anyone doing it in the future, choose a topic you love. This was something I was passionate about, I was already interested in, do that. Because if you're not passionate, you won't want to do the work, you won't want to read the sources, it'll be boring. And have confidence in yourself. I thought I would really struggle writing. I thought I'd sit there and I wouldn't know what to put. But actually when you start, you get into the flow of things, you know what you're saying, you've read the research, you know what you're doing, so you really have to be confident in your ability to do these things. Right. And that's my presentation. Thank you for listening, and I'll be with my poster after this if anyone wants to ask me any questions.